Today we ceremonially leave behind 2023. And I think it's safe to say that it's been a challenging year for a majority of people. Suffering has been widely distributed. A collective sense of terror has wreaked havoc on the emotional, mental well-being of people everywhere. Feelings of anxiety, helplessness, and grief is forcing people to face an increasingly uncertain future. And all this raises serious questions. Will God be with us as we enter a new year? And if so, where will we find him? Friends, I think that the solemnity that we celebrate today, as we begin a new year, can help us answer those questions. The claim that's being made as we celebrate Mary, the Mother of God, is this: having chosen to enter into the human scene the same way that we all did through birth, God made a statement. You see, for too long, Christianity has defined God as merely almighty, which I think has severely hampered our ability to know and experience God to a greater extent. We're pretty good at acknowledging and identifying God and all his grandeur and all his bigness, but we have a harder time appreciating and even acknowledging him in his meekness, his smallness, his vulnerability. This time of year, we get a glimpse of God's incredible vulnerability because of the central theme in Christmas. In the incarnation, which took place in the womb of the Virgin Mary, God, who is all-powerful, also becomes all-vulnerable. Friends, as we celebrate Mary, the Mother of God, in the context of a world that seems so broken and frightening, we're invited to reflect on the aspect of God that is seldom considered or even talked about: his incredible vulnerability. By not seeing God and defining him as all vulnerable, essentially, I think what we've done is we fan the flames of atheism, agnosticism, skepticism, and cynicism. Because if God is only almighty, if God is not all vulnerable, why all this suffering? Why war in Ukraine and in the Holy Land? Why the exploitation of natural resources? Why the exploitation of children through trafficking? Why the enormous disparities among peoples? You see, without accepting the reality that God is also all vulnerable, then of course it makes no sense how the Almighty would not do something about cancer or human trafficking or deadly viruses. If God is only almighty, then we've got a lot of complaining to do, and he's got a lot of explaining to do. But if God is equally all vulnerable, which I understand goes much against what we've conditioned to think of God, then oh my God, God is suffering. God is in the suffering. Friends, once we see that suffering is something that God is intimate with, then we can begin to really understand the revelation of Jesus on the cross. Then not only will we begin to see the presence of God in our suffering, but we'll also understand the value of suffering. We'll understand the value of allowing ourselves to become like God, vulnerable, in order to share love and experience love. We're shown today that to love life means to love it in its vulnerability, in its fragility. That's what Mary did when she placed her trust in God. That's what God did when he decided to be born in the world. And that's why God can be found in our pain, in our brokenness, and in this suffering that we experience. Friends, my prayer for you as we enter this new year is this: the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. Mary, Mother of God, pray for us.
Benedictus fructus